You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everyone, 300, Rise of an Empire is coming up, and you know what that means? This is Sparta!
Wow.
No? Okay. Actually, it means it's another edition of Don't F with the Original.
With Nicholas, I'm the video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I'm Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic.com and movie critic. We will be discussing the movie that started it all, in this case, Zack Snyder's 300.
It's funny you say started it all, because it's only the second movie. It's like it started it all.
You know.
Yeah, I know.
It's 2 movies, but it's 600 Spartans, you know? So, 2007, Zack Snyder, 300, based on the comic book by Frank Miller, also called 300.
What a coincidence.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Take it away, Nick.
The Persians are attacking, led by Xerxes, and Leonidas wants to protect, his city and his country, so he wants to, attack them, but the council or the oracle doesn't want them to commit the whole army, so he goes to defend Greece with 300 people. And the whole concept is them fighting the Persian army with only 300 soldiers.
Yeah, which is based on, of course, true history.
Not quite exactly, but...
actually, it's based on history. I wouldn't say true history.
His whole army went there. And when events in the movie unfolded, only 300 stayed back, basically. So it's close to what happened.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of the inaccuracies and some of the interesting historical facts relating to that battle, because in real life, Leonidas actually lucked out a lot in this one, in real life, because a lot of the ships from the Persians actually crashed before they got there, and actually probably spared quite a bit of their lives.
Yeah, and that is in the movie as well.
Oh, that's true, it is, yeah.
So, pretty cool.
What did you think of the movie?
It looked great. That I can say. It's a style I've never seen before, and I like that. I'm always looking for something different, so looking at the style of the movie, it was very spectacular to look at. As an action or suspense or a great movie, really, it was mindless fighting, really, most of it for me. So it didn't do it for me, but it was very beautiful to look at. I will give it that.
No, I agree. It is kind of one note, which is, and it's a relentless note. And by the end of the runtime, you're sort of like, I sort of want to see something else at this point. Yeah. So I totally get where you're coming from. I don't think it's really an action thriller. At least, obviously, there's fighting all the time, so there is action, but. Yeah. I don't think it's structured that way. I don't think it's meant to be taken that way.
I know. It's just, it's for crazy visuals that you would watch this movie. Like, at one point, he's eating an apple and it looks great, okay? So it's not all about the fighting, really. It's really about the visuals.
Absolutely. Well, the shot where, look, spoiler alert, people, this is history. If you don't know this, then I blame you, not me. Yeah. But all the Spartans die. Well, not all the Spartans, but all the Spartans that stay there
die. The 300.
Yeah. And there's the shot pulling away from their general Leonidas, played by Gerald Butler, and all of them lying down on the floor. It looks like a painting, but like a beautiful Renaissance painting. It's gorgeously composed. It's beautiful.
Although I kind of felt weird with Leonidas with his arms like, in a cross, kind of looked like Jesus Christ in the middle there. That felt weird to me. Like, it looked good, but I was wondering, is there some symbolism I'm not getting here? This is weird.
To a certain degree, when somebody sort of spreads their arms, it always looks like the Jesus thing, and I've sort of decided consciously to stop associating it always with Christianity, because it's like, people can just spread their arms, you know what I mean? Maybe he was trying to fly, I don't know.
I don't know, but he sacrificed himself for the salvation of his people, so I was thinking, are they trying to do something like that here? It's kind of weird, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I get where you're coming from, because that is usually how that thing is being portrayed. I don't know if that was the case here or not.
Yeah.
I choose to just ignore that stuff unless I have something else confirming Christianity, just because I'm tired of associating people spreading their arms with Jesus.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
What I find interesting, and you mentioned the visual style, I agree with you. The whole movie was filmed on a soundstage in Montreal, a small one at that.
Really?
Yeah. And it is fascinating just how much they've achieved with a very small budget and just digital effects all around. there's these beautiful shots that are tracking for like a minute or two, a single shot where the characters are moving around, and they're real people. So it's not like Star Wars Episode 3 where you have this big sweeping space battle at the beginning. You're like, oh, it's all one shot. Yeah, but it's computer generated, so kudos for the conception, but
Yeah.
in terms of pulling it off, big deal.
Exactly.
But this one, there's real people, so the camera has to move around. And when you see the size of the actual soundstage, it's so small, it means that the actors must have had to run around themselves a little bit, and the camera having to follow them in circles a little bit to pull that off. And
Wow.
it is kind of fascinating how he pulled that off.
That's cool.
And since we're talking about the comparison to Star Wars, like Star Wars, it was filmed on a soundstage, but unlike Star Wars, the acting is actually really good, I find.
Yes. Yeah. There was no problem with the acting. Even, there was a kid at one point dying. Even, I normally hate child actors, but even there, it was like, well, he did his job perfectly. It was fine. I liked it. Acting, very, very good.
Yeah, Lena Headey, who plays Leonidas' wife, Queen Gordos, who gets involved in a political plot that's not in the comic book by Frank Miller. Zack Snyder added that stuff, and thankfully, because it was a little bit heavy on the sausage. But we'll get about the movie being unintentionally gay a little bit later. Or intentionally. I'm not entirely sure, actually. Because, the Spartans, they were encouraged to sleep with one another to become more caring about their fellow warriors. So.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. It's
just saying.
But her storyline I liked a lot, actually, because, it does feature a strong woman. It does, when you think about it coming from Zack Snyder, who gave us Sucker Punch, the most ill-conceived, what were you thinking sort of feminist movie. Because he claims it's a feminist movie, and I sat through Sucker Punch going like, how?
How? Yeah, wow.
And I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, going like, maybe he just did not manage to convey what he meant to convey properly, and that's where he failed, and that he doesn't actually think that little girls dancing hypnotically in scantily clad action heroes anime stuff is actually a feminist statement. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, where he was probably meaning to criticize that and it didn't come across.
Yeah, probably.
But I give him the benefit of the doubt because of this movie. When you see what he added to Frank Miller's Sausage Fest, this very strong female character, who at one point gets used and abused sexually, but sort of moves beyond that and makes a clear statement that women have much more to offer in that society than that. Yeah. It's an interesting subplot. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. And like you said, it was a nice change of pace, going back. Eventually you're tired of, all the fighting and all, half-naked men fighting elephants, and you're like, okay, enough's enough. Let's look at something else. And you go to Sparta. Completely nice set, completely different point of view, and you have her, which is, a good, interesting, strong female character at a time where you did not have strong females. So it makes it, and, it's not like he didn't change it so that all of a sudden ancient Greek is all accepting of female and she's revered by everybody. No, she still faces the same, why are you talking to me? You're a female. No, but she still managed to be very strong in that setting, which is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have like the random like token female Spartan amongst the 300. Like that would have been awful.
Oh my God.
It would have been so bad. Gerard Butler, who plays Leonidas, I thought was excellent in that movie.
Yeah.
Granted, his role mostly involves him shouting very dramatic things over and over again, but damn it, he does it well.
Yeah, he's a good shouter. I enjoy, good pipes there, And
the nonsense that he says, but he sells it. Because, these are Frank Miller lines, and it's uber macho nonsense. The glory of dying, we're men. At one point, he even says, those people in Athens, those lover of boys. And you're you're a Spartan. You slept with your warrior mate 2 minutes ago. Who are you kidding?
But he's not a boy, he's a man. Yeah, so he has a difference.
But Leonidas, Gerard Butler, sells it all. It all works coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, the whole crew, the 300 that were all fighting, you all believe that, they were really, warriors fighting. It was, hopeless, but still, they're going to do it because they're there to fight because they're men. And you bought them from each and every one of them.
David Dunham, who plays the narrator.
Yeah.
He also has this great sort of almost Shakespearean tone of voice
about
him.
I mean, it was, and especially when he talks normally, and when he's in, not the narrator, but when he's just in normal scenes like that, he doesn't have that voice at all. So, they kind of combine it together at the end when he's telling the story. And it's like, okay, yeah, okay, it's him. Good, fine. But, you don't realize it. I guess he's using his solemn voice to tell the story and his warrior voice to fight.
In terms of the acting, my only problem is maybe I'm not as big a fan as what is his name, Alonso, as Xerxes.
Yeah.
Okay, they made that guy up like crazy, like the amount of makeup on, like
Oh
the
my
amount
God.
of bling on that guy.
Yeah. Yes. He did not look human.
Which I think is the point. We'll get to that in a few seconds because there's a lot of stuff that don't look human in that movie.
Yeah, all right.
I do like the crazy deep voice. I think that's probably altered.
Yeah. Yes. No. There's no human has a voice like that. Honestly.
I know.
Wow.
Christian Bale has tried and he didn't even succeed.
Yeah, but his voice is non-human, but not ridiculous. Is what we're saying. It's not like Bale.
Okay, let's get into the craziness because as much as it's based on true events, there's no way a lot of that stuff would have happened in real life.
Yeah.
I'll let you list them because I know you reacted more strongly to them.
Well, let's start with the Spartans to begin with. The big advantage of Sparta is that they had like tremendous weapon and armor. And that's how they were able to fight back the Persians, because the Persians were coming at them with wicker armor and wicker shields, that their metal spears were just going straight through, and that's how they were able to hold over superior numbers. In this movie, they're bare-chested for some reason. It's like, it's not the best of protection, and you can see a bunch of them being cut, with like glancing wounds that could have totally been avoided with like even wearing a shirt. And then they're finding ninjas for some reason, because the Persians are ninjas. They're wearing the mask and dressed in black.
I swear to God, anything that's based on a Frank Miller book has got to have ninjas or dinosaurs or both in it.
Okay.
I am so tired of Frank Miller and his ninjas.
Nice, I didn't know that. And the Persians use like rhinos and elephants, which is like, no, that's, those are like Hannibal's thing, don't give those to Persians, it's really weird use of animals that was not available at the time.
Can you imagine them bringing them on a boat to Greece as
Yeah.
well? Like, it's so preposterous.
And elephants were a great weapon when they're used in very large number. 3 of them, that's not enough to make a difference against an army, really. They're going to be skewered with spears and arrows, they're going to die. There's no point in having 3 elephants in your army. It's completely pointless. But yeah, it's like he's throwing all these bags of tricks, All of a sudden, the Persians have gunpowder as well at one point.
Yeah, they throw grenades. That
throw
was my favorite
grenades.
part.
It's like, and at one point, one of them botches the throw, so he explodes all the other piles of grenades. It's like, wow.
In fairness, the narrator describes it as their magic.
Yes, they're magic, but magic or not, gunpowder is like 14th century in China kind of thing, Maybe a little earlier because of fireworks, but you've used in weapon, I think it's mostly 14th century, so.
As weapons, yeah, no, because
Yeah.
it was very late that it was used as a weapon.
Yeah. So, yeah, those magics there is like, of course, and they're being thrown by ninjas as well because they have the masks, because it's like, wow.
I mean, like, this is what kills me, though. Beneath the masks, like, at one point, like, they tear off the ninja veil there.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a mutant under it, and it's like, the Persians are mutants now? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
I mean, why have the mask? If you're a mutant like that, it's so much scarier to your enemies to be fighting something that doesn't look human and some guy in a Halloween costume, So don't wear the mask. It has more of an effect.
Oh, no, the mutants in general. Like, at one point, there's like this big
Yeah.
guy at one point, and then later on, there's a dude with saws for hands.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a goat head at some point.
What was the deal with that?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy.
I think you're on Mars. All of a sudden, like Total Recall. Well, what is this?
And yet, I will argue that it all makes perfect sense.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How so?
Here's the thing. David Dunham
Yeah.
is telling the story to an army to pump them up and telling them of Leonidas' sacrifice.
Okay.
He is buttering up that story like crazy, as you would if you were trying to pump up an army to fight a much larger army.
Yeah.
To sort of pump them up. Like, so he is like telling all kinds of bullshit throughout his entire story, and I think that's sort of the point of the movie. Like in the comic book, none of that. It's like it's an objective narrator, which makes no sense, and there is that crazy ninja stuff. But it's Frank Miller. Let's all ignore him.
Okay.
But what Zack Snyder did, I think, is sort of make it about a tale about how propaganda works, about how war stories work, how legends serve a purpose, and how it's used.
Okay.
Because if you look at it carefully, there's interesting symbolism from the point of view of this guy trying to propagate anti-Persian propaganda.
Okay.
Because, first of all, there's all kinds of scenes in the movie where, like, you weren't there for that. How the hell would you know?
That's a good point.
And all of those scenes are the craziest ones. When the traitor shows up at Xerxes' little tent there, that's when you see the guy with the goat head. That's when you see the guy with the sauce with the hands. All the mutants come out. Okay. And that's the part where the narrator has no way of knowing. He just made that crap up to make the enemies sound like demons.
That makes sense.
The traitor. He's also all deformed and misshapen, and that's also deliberate. Where it's like, oh yeah, that traitor, like he looks stupid. He has big ears, and his mother dresses him funny. Like it's you know.
But did he also narrate the part about where Leonidas went to see the Oracle, and the Oracle told him not to attack because the council knows what the Oracle looks like.
But he's telling it to the army, not to the council.
Okay. All right.
So, and he's denigrating politicians like crazy in his story because he's going like, we're the army, we're the ones that matter, you know.
Yeah.
So, he is narrating that part too, and that part like is completely batshit crazy.
Yeah. Although that is kind of how the Oracle worked, in Delph, I think. They inhaled smoke from an underground source. I don't know when the smoke is, and, then people just went crazy because you're not supposed to inhale that kind of stuff, and they just spotted random stuff. And that's how the Oracle, started in Greece. So I was like, okay, they kind of got that right.
Well, interesting detail about it. Again, from the point of view that he's telling the story.
Yeah.
These are the Oracle said, like, don't go to war, right? Yeah. And now they're going to war. So he wants to discredit them as he's telling the story. Yeah. So, of course, they're leprous and they're abusing these young women and they're bought off,
Yeah.
Which he has no way of knowing again. But he's like, oh, yeah, these guys, they have warts and they're stupid and they got bought off anyway. And you don't want to listen to them. Leonidas is bare-chested and has coconut oil on him. You want to listen to him.
Basically, what you're telling me is I just saw a movie where basically it was all a dream.
It was all a story.
Yeah, now I'm liking the movie less because you basically made me waste my time.
Do you feel that way? Because I feel it's actually a more interesting statement about legends. Because, none of what he says is completely untrue. Yeah. Leonidas really did go there and get killed.
To be fair, I didn't like the story for the movie for the story, more for the looks. So yeah, it doesn't really ruin it for me. It's just that I don't like when people lie to me in movies.
He's not lying. He's exaggerating.
Yeah. Okay.
Because what happened did happen.
Yeah.
And it's not like the movie starts off going and like switching baits and goes like, and that was all the story. From the beginning that he's telling a story to an army because that's the first shot.
Okay.
It's not like a third act reversal a la M. Night Shyamalan.
Okay.
It's more of the idea of like, okay, we're presenting a story with an unreliable narrator. And as the movie progresses, the narrator gets a little bit excited about his story, I guess, and becomes more and more unreliable.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess he does.
Which, and again, like the Leonidas' story about the wolf, like, unless Leonidas told him that story, there's no way he wasn't there to see it. But you'll notice that his strategy against the wolf is exactly the same as his strategy against the Spartans.
Yeah.
So they're
you mean against the Persians?
Oh yeah. Leonidas just turns on his army at some point. He's like, flah, flah, flah. Oh, I am Sparta. No. But and I think that's a more interesting statement than seeing a bunch of like completely insane crap and going like, yeah, that was history. No. Zack Snyder's going like, yeah, no, that's not history.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a legend.
Yes. Where did he make up the elephants though?
yeah, there's a couple of things where it's like, well, he's exaggerating and he's making up crap, but my God, like, how did he guess that these things exist? Like, how did he guess that grenades would one day exist?
Exactly. Which is the thing. Maybe the grenades and the elephants happened, which makes the Persians like the weirdest strategist in war ever. You know, let's mix and match a bunch of strategies. You know, not stick to one that works. But yeah, okay, I can see him. You know, especially for the deformed parts and the goat men. Yeah, I can see him. You know, okay, they're evil, they're deformed, they're not Spartans like us. I can totally get that. It makes sense. Did not see it that way at all. I just thought, you know, it's like, okay, this is just crazy.
Which it is. Like, when you're watching, you're like, what the hell? But really, it's this final shot where he's like, whoa, whoa, and like, he's pumping up the army and whatnot. And you remember, oh, yeah, he was telling that to the army all this time. You're like, oh, yeah, like that little snake there.
How long did that army sit there in front of the other camp of the other army, just listening to a guy tell a story? And the other army's not attacking. It's like, yeah, there's these guys over there. I guess the guy in front's probably telling a story. Let's just wait until he's done.
They're listening to it. They're like, hey, did you hear what this guy said about us? Like, that son of a gun.
We don't have a goat, man. What is he talking about?
This is bullshit. I guess it's a good time to sort of get your final verdict on this. Well, like, what do you feel about this?
I liked watching it. It was very stylish. I would not rewatch it. You know, I've seen it once. It looks good. Maybe like if I get really, you know, nostalgic about it, maybe in a couple of years I'll rewatch it again. But it's not a movie I would like watch often. I was like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. You know, I saw the style, I enjoyed it, and that's about it for me. If you're looking to watch something different that looks different, totally go for it. Don't watch it for a story.
Oh, there really isn't none really. It's like it's one battle.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you. I think in terms of style, in terms of craftsmanship, it is a fascinating movie to see. It certainly cemented at the time Zack Snyder as a director to look out for.
Yeah.
And I think overall he's usually maintained a pretty good average with like one catastrophic flop and ups and downs in his career. But overall, he's a good visual director, and here he gets to do what he does best. It's probably one of his stronger movies, I would say.
Okay.
And I also like the way that he took Frank Miller's story and sort of added a little bit of depth in it. Like, I like that he added the Lena Headey story, a little bit of vagina in there. And
sure, it helps.
There's a lot of penis. And I like the sort of twist on the idea of the unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
And the statement it says about how our legends work, how legends are built, and how they're probably a lot of times tools for propaganda.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think it is a really artistic movie, and certainly something that is worth your time once.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's not for amateurs of action or whatnot.
Yeah.
That's not what this movie's aiming for. And to be honest, it's part of why I respect it a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right. Which is why it's a little bit odd to me when they announced a sequel to it, because I was like, really? Like, that seemed like a perfectly well-structured one-off.
Yeah.
That I don't care to revisit again, particularly.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do it in a different style or in the same style. I don't want it to be in the same style. I already saw 300s. I don't need to have the same visuals thrown at me again.
Something that's been thrown around is the idea of the Battle of Salamis.
Yeah.
Which was a naval battle, I believe.
Yes, it was.
And so, at least, if they're doing that, at least we're getting into a different setting, so it won't be exactly the same thing, because, I mean, a naval battle will have different dynamics.
Yeah.
So that could be something interesting. I have to say, as far as sequels go, the idea of just taking another famous battle in that great war is like, oh, fair enough. Like, cause I was like, what are you going to do with 300? Like 301? Like,
yes.
Another 300.
The queen goes to war this time as well, because she's a strong female character. She's the one.
There's so many possibilities to screw that up, just like at inception.
Yeah.
But taking another battle, I think, okay, well, that's a fair tact. I kudos on that. You found a way to make a perfunctory sequel that doesn't feel like a complete insult to history.
Yeah. Why call it 300? It's not 300 though.
Marketing wise, you need to.
I guess.
But I don't know. I think they have to copy the style, because that's what people will remember of 300. If they do it in a different style, or certainly if they do it in a more realistic style, it's going to be epic fail, because that's not what the franchise would be about.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's weird. I don't know where they're going to go for that. I mean, how do they not F with the original? You know? First of all, they need to, if they're doing a lot of fighting scenes, it's just something I didn't mention, they need to film them the same way they did here. No shaky cam, no uber close up, you know. It was one thing pretty enjoyable to watch actually action happening and see what was going on. It was ridiculous action, but at least I could see what was happening. It was just not all shaky and, you know, well, what just happened here? You know, you could, even when there was a giant melee full of people, you could see it very well. So they need to keep with that and not go with, you know, the shaky Kangton that's happening so often, and that would just make it so horrible, especially with that style of, you know, visuals.
No, I agree. And also, I don't know. It's just the idea of the sequel makes me scared that they might have not interpreted 300 the way I think it works best.
Okay.
And might have interpreted it as an action franchise.
Oh, God.
And yeah, and the tendency will be to put you in the middle of the war by doing the shaky cam thing. And I'm like, A, no, don't do that. B, I don't want to be in the middle of the war.
No, I like looking from afar, you know. I'm not a Spartan. Yeah, I'm kind of wimpy here, you know. I don't want to be in there. I'm looking at the big guys fight. It's all good.
Yeah, and especially a battle that's so long ago and that you want to view from more of a historical point and more of that fascination. Like, I can understand how Saving Private Ryan, you want to use shaky cam to sort of give you a feel of how horrid war was. Like, yeah, you want to see how visceral and how awful and terrible and horrifying it must have been to be there. But I personally don't want to know that, but I understand how that's an artistic statement in itself, an interesting one to make. But for something that happened so long ago, like, why?
Are you going to have the narrator again just talking and making exaggerated story again in case there's another war later on that, you know...
Oh, that would suck.
That's weird, you know.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're dragons attacking or something like that.
Okay, wait, I take it back. That might be awesome.
It's a weird choice to you know, get that franchise back up. Did the original 300 make that much money?
Oh yeah, it was a great success. Keep in mind, it was a very low budget movie.
Okay.
Which is what amazes me about it. Like, when you look at it, it looks rich, it looks expensive, it looks very well crafted. Yeah, like it didn't cost a lot of money.
I guess it's also because the style, you didn't mind that the backgrounds were fake because it blended everything bring together, as opposed to look at Star Wars, you know, the prequels where you could see real characters, like they look perfectly normal humans go and fade into like terrible faded like one-dimensional backgrounds, or two-dimensional I guess background, and it looks terrible. Whereas this, you know, since it's all stylized, everything looks coherent together. So, you know, to be fair, you know, it looks good, and you know, maybe if they manage to do that again, you know, and do something like even crazier, I might just give it a shot. You know,
yeah, that's interesting. For me, it's a catch-22. Either you pull off the same stunt successfully, and I'm like, well, I've seen it before. Yeah. Or you change it up, or fail to capture the magic, and then you fail, and then I'm like, haha, you failed. Yeah. It's sort of like they're doomed if they do, they're doomed if they don't. I think just the idea of the project is a really difficult one to pull off. Now, I've said that about other movies that I've ended up loving, so, you know, I could be completely wrong. We'll see, but I don't have high hopes for this one.
Maybe they'll do something spectacular, but I'm afraid it's going to be more of the same, which is pretty much, you know, sequelitis. You know, more of the same, you know, change a few things here and there, add new characters, and, well, they need to add new characters because everybody's dead, but, you know.
They return from the dead, that's what it has to be.
On the Persian side, you know, that's why you need a bigger army.
In modern times.
Oh, God. Nice.
On that note, if you have any questions, comments, you want to share with us your love of 300, or any individual one amongst those 300.
Yeah.
You can write us at mail@idiomatic.com or post a comment at idiomatic.com. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. We're also on iTunes. And until then, this is Sparta!
You didn't need to spit on me, dude.